Welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. We are on episode 8 of Mistborn, The Final Empire. We're reading chapters 25 through 28. I am Midnight, and I am here with Mythic.
Hola, ¿cómo
and,
estás?
and Darkness.
Hello.
And before we go right into it, I just wanted to do a little shout out to a listener named Kyle, who was our very first emailer. They sent me an email to correct my French pronunciation of Renault. Renault, which his name is Renault, which I had been pronouncing Renoir.
Gotcha.
And I'm very sorry for that, and I hope it does not drive you as insane as you said in your email. But we really appreciate you, Kyle. Thank you so much for emailing.
Read the email on stream. Read the email.
You want me to open the email? I can read the
we
email.
all know it's Renox. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely Renox. 100%.
It's not. I can read the email. It says, hello, that's my response. It says, hi, I'm listening to Mistborn episode 2, and I have to say something or this will drive me insane. In French, OUX is pronounced O, not wa. Also, is this email okay to send spoilers to? Kyle. That was Kyle's email.
Kyle, I need you to say Renox instead of...
Yeah, exactly. We all know it's Renox.
Also, yes, you can send spoilers to the email I provide in the video description. Or not video, in the podcast descriptions. It only goes to me. It is my email address. It is
but if you want, you can always just join one of our Twitch channels and
do not give them spoilers. No one give them spoilers.
All of them. I would love all the spoilers.
No spoilers.
Do not give me spoilers. I am monitored by Midnight and threatened. You know.
Yes, I have Darkness's family held hostage.
Yeah, you should really give them back.
No.
No, I don't want them.
At some point,
Darkness doesn't want them.
I mean, at some point they have to eat, and we all know you don't,
Oh my god, I
feed anybody.
Oh
gosh.
All right. Anyway.
All right, chapter 25. So, of course, as always, we start out with the epigraph, which is one of the shorter ones. It says, "No man dies by my hand or command, except that I wish there had been another way. Still, I kill them. Sometimes I wish that I weren't such a cursed realist." So, what situations do you think are occurring that he is needing to kill people? Like, what do you think about this?
I'm gonna be honest. That one confused the fuck out of me. So, I was kind of hoping it would get more explained. But...
There's a lot of reasons to have to murder somebody, to survive yourself. Great one.
Because you're late.
Yeah, when you're late to something, you just gotta murder somebody.
Mm-hmm. You have any actual points to make on that, Mythic?
No, that was my actual point. First off, sometimes you have to murder people to survive in a world that is wanting to murder you.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, that was my actual point. Even though
then you went into the lateness thing, though. I'm like, really?
Well, yeah, I mean, but we can make jokes, can't we?
No jokes.
I thought this was a joking podcast.
No, it is.
I mean, you treat it like a joke by being late. So
wow.
It's weird because I'm assuming it's just I don't understand what he's trying to say, because it says no man dies by my hand or command except that I wish there had been another way, right?
Yeah, so he's basically saying that killing them was his last resort.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of just goes upon my theory. I mean, my theory of, I don't remember the dude's name, but the guy that I think is actually the Lord Ruler is pretty concrete here real soon, so it's okay.
I'm wondering if it's talking about the deep though.
The deepness?
You think that the deep is somehow causing him to have to murder people?
Yeah, because it could be
a corruption thing, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. They get corrupted at midnight, so.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna make that.
Just a little faster than you.
So we then go into the actual chapter, which starts with Calcier's point of view as he's preparing to head out. He's getting some jugs of water and tells Breeze to go around to all of the hideouts they recruited from and let them know what is happening. He also tells Doxson that unless Yedin is captured, Clubs' shop should be safe, but to keep multiple Tin Eyes watching out and to get to their bolt lair if there is any sign of trouble. Apparently one of Clubs' apprentices had already gone to let Renault know, but it was unlikely he needed to pull out.
Yeah, Renox, yeah.
So, do you think that Clubs' shop may get found out at some point?
Yes.
For sure.
Surprised it hasn't been found out already.
So Kelsier then tells Ham that he should go with the garrison. Ham states that he won't turn on the garrison if he goes with them, which Kelsier says he shouldn't kill any of their soldiers. They both seem pretty unhappy with the other's choice. So what do you think about Ham saying he won't turn on the garrison if he joins them?
I mean, that's reasonable in my eyes.
I don't know about that. You all are all trying to pretty much murder the entire city that you just don't like. So, how would you have reserves about killing somebody that is obviously in opposition to you?
Well, I mean,
I think Ham has said before that he kind of feels like these garrison guys are kind of like forced into this. They're Ska who are just trying to provide for their families like anyone else, and that they had no other choice. So I think Ham is always related with these guys a lot.
So I understand the idea like that, but the problem then lies in the fact that you still treat the royals as if they're scum of the earth. So
yeah, but I think he feels the nobles have more of a choice.
Maybe, but I don't think they do. So as we have seen, well, better yet, as we have seen through Vin's eyes.
Fuck Vin. Anyway.
Oh my god, what is your problem with Vin? She's just trying to survive in a world that is trying to murder her.
No, she's giving them a reason to.
Oh gosh. So next, Kelsier asks how much speed Sazed has stored up, which flusters Sazed a little, and he says he has 2 or 3 hours. Kelsier determines that isn't enough, so Sazed won't come with him. He then turns
at least 16.
Yeah, he needs 16 hours apparently. He then turns to see Vin ready to go. He tells Vin it is a difficult trip, but she just nods. He hands her a pouch of pewter beads and tells her to take 5 of them, and that they can take more later if needed since they'll be running the whole way. As Kelsier worries if they'll get there soon enough, Dockson mentions that the army is useless to them now. Kelsier agrees and says going is just about saving lives. Kelsier then tells Vin to flare her pewter, stating that they can't be subtle and to not let herself run out. So we switch to Vin's point of view, as she and Kelsier flare pewter and run through the streets recklessly. Vin notes that they're wearing their mist cloaks in the daylight to make sure nobles get out of their way. As they approach the northern gates, Kelsier uses the armor of a guard to jump over the gate. He presses the guy into the ground doing this. And Vin first uses the coin and then has to push on a second guard's armor, but because she's not as heavy, he just kind of stumbles a little. Doesn't get almost flattened into the ground. So once over the wall, Vin notes that Kelsier runs even faster, and she realizes that he intends to dash all the way there, to a place that is 2 weeks by canal boat. She catches up to Kelsier and speaks to him, noting that it's easier than she expected. Kelsier says it's because of the balance pewter also gives, and then says not to talk because even if she isn't tired now, she will be in 16 hours. So what did you think?
Hilarious.
So what did you think about the power of pewter here? That they're running this huge long distance.
At that moment, I was worried because we know that they brought up how even if you burn pewter, the effects are still gonna fuck up your body even if you don't notice it at the time.
Yeah, pewter drag.
Yeah, and I didn't know how it was gonna fucking affect him.
Yeah.
If they were gonna be doing all that the whole time.
I mean, so. I was definitely in the same boat where I was thinking, oh my god, they're gonna have to always be using pewter until they have a chance to finally sleep or something, and then they're gonna be in a coma for 2 months.
That's what I thought too. They're gonna be asleep for a while.
It just doesn't seem feasible to me, to do that.
I was scared. I was scared because Vin has. I'm pretty sure Vin has never done anything like that. So I was
wait, you're scared? You're scared for Vin?
At that point, but then I hated her after. So.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to that eventually.
We gotta get into why that is. I want to know why you hate her.
Yeah.
It's the small things. I can hate people for just the smallest thing.
Yeah, but what small thing tipped you off on the
You'll see. You'll see.
Yeah, we'll figure it out later. So as it reaches nighttime, Vin notes that she can feel her body resisting and feeling fatigued under the pewter, but she keeps her speed. She also keeps her pewter reserves full as she knows if it lapses, she won't be able to start running again. Kelsier also makes sure she drinks plenty of water, and she notes that as the mists come out, they no longer see people moving. Instead, they just see some tied-up canal boats or camps, and twice they even pass Mist Race. Vin feels herself becoming consumed by the running. All she knows is running and barely can keep track of Kelsier in front of her. They don't slow down even as the sun begins to rise in the morning. More time passes and Kelsier finally stops, and Vin is so shocked that she almost collides into him. Her body resists stopping, but Kelsier forces her to. As she tries to relax, Kelsier tells her to keep burning her pewter and to flare tin to keep herself awake. So then Kelsier points out the battle to Vin, and he notes that the army seems to have beaten the Holstep garrison, but the Valtro garrison arrived before they did, and they are much larger and seem to have taken out the majority of the army. Kelsier tries to go help those that are left, but Vin stops him, reminding him that he isn't invincible and that there may be men back in the caves that they can save. What do you think would have happened if Vin wasn't there to keep Kelsier from rushing in?
Kelsier would have went in and died.
I think he would have went in. I don't think he would have died, but I think he would have been like a little bit more off his rockers after.
Yeah, he definitely would have also possibly given away that like Mistborn were working with the rebellion.
Yeah.
Which probably would have made them seem a lot more dangerous to the Lord Ruler.
I mean, I still feel like the Lord Ruler knows all of this, and he's just allowing it to happen because it's probably fun to him.
You gotta have something to keep you entertained after 1,000 years.
After so long, he's probably gone through quite a few of these rebellions, and he's just like, this one seems actually like it might go somewhere, so we'll let this go for a little bit.
Seems like an actual challenge, maybe, for once.
Yeah, I have no problem taking them out when I need to.
So we then skip to Kelsier descending into the caverns of the hideout. Kelsier sees and hears nothing, even with Tin, but Vin states she does. Kelsier then sees a small flicker of light, and as they approach, Kelsier sees a man holding a spear who asks for a password. Kelsier realizes it's Demo, and he states he doesn't need a password. Demo is shocked to see Kelsier and asks if the army succeeded.
I don't need a password.
They find out that 2,000 of the men stayed behind, which Demo apologizes for as he thinks the army succeeded. Kelsier tells him the army is dead and that they need to leave. So were you surprised that so many men stayed behind, including Demo?
I was more annoyed at the fact that he was like, I don't need a password. And what the fuck was that? All that shit.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same thing when he was berating that one dude.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Even if it's me, you still treat it like somebody. I'm like, bro, come on, man. He's literally doing what you asked.
Right.
But yeah, what was the question?
Were you surprised that so many men stayed behind, including Demo?
Not at all. People are cowards.
I thought they were all gonna go try and get slaughtered. So. Yeah, I kind of was surprised.
I honestly, when I first read this book, was surprised that of all of them, Demo was one of the ones who stayed behind. I would have thought that after, the whole thing with him and Kelsier previously, that he would have been one of the ones super ready to go.
Who's Demo?
He's the...
That's what I thought.
No, seriously, when I thought that, I don't remember who Demo was.
I don't remember either, and I knew it was gonna get brought up, but I was just like, "Fuck, you know."
He's the guy that Kelsier makes seem like he gave his Mistborn powers to.
I mean, you figure that out later, but when this was going on, I was like, "Who the hell is Demo?" I thought he was just some random guy. I was like, "Okay, just
you mean the
Mo?" Oh my god.
Yeah, Demox. Yeah.
So we then time skip to that night when what is left of the army, Kelsier and Vin, all camp for the night. Kelsier is glad that someone in the group had the foresight to make sure everyone was packed and ready to leave quickly if needed. Kelsier thinks that it's his fault that Yedin made the rash decision to attack the Holstep garrison.
As it is.
He knows that the deaths are on him, including Yedin's, as a scout had confirmed Yedin's body had been out on the battlefield. So were you surprised that Yedin died?
Loki was. I didn't think he would die that fucking fast.
So though he wasn't as important, he still technically wasn't one of the main crew members.
Yeah.
I mean, are the main crew members really that safe though?
I don't know. I'm just saying, were you surprised because he's technically one of the main crew members?
I didn't see him as the main crew member though. I saw him as the one hiring the main crew member.
Yeah, I mean he hired him, but he was still kind of the one in all the meetings. I kind of consider the main crew to have been Kelsier, Marsh, Yedin, Breeze, Ham, Clubs, Vin. Am I missing anyone? That's the main people.
You're missing my boy.
Oh, and
yeah, but that's it's a whole different aura.
How can you not include Spooks in that? Spooks is definitely a main character.
No,
never mind.
He might be a character, but he's not.
Spooks is a main character. He is in every one of these things, literally.
He's still not one of the main crew members, though. He's literally just Clubs' nephew.
But he's still a main. He's a main crew member, though.
I'm gonna laugh if his.
Okay, wait. Who is? I think he was a Tin Eye, right?
Yeah, Spooks is a Tin Eye.
Who else is a Tin Eye in this group?
Kelsier, technically.
Okay, no, I mean
Mistings. Kelsier and Vin.
Okay, yeah, but Mistings.
Yeah, no,
he's
he's a Tin Eye, but he's still not.
He is their Tin Eye.
He wasn't their main Tin Eye. Actually, I guess he was, because they were like,
yeah,
we need a
who's
tin
their main tin
eye.
eye?
Yeah, that's true. That he kind of is, isn't he? Because they were like, we need a tin eye, and they're like, oh yeah, there's this nephew that's a tin
Yeah,
eye.
so he is
I
a
guess
main
he
crew
is.
member.
I just never really considered him to be
Because
like
you
a
don't
main.
like him.
Oh,
You in darkness out here don't like him because he talks different.
It's not because he
It's not-
talks different. I find his language hilarious. He's kind of a really awkward, cringy
yeah,
kid.
that's more the reason.
So are you two. You're both
Oh yeah, I
awkward,
definitely
cringy
was
people
at some
too.
point.
Okay, but I don't like myself.
Same.
Oh, okay, well, no. How can you not like yourself?
I hate my high school self. I don't like to think back on high
No,
school
I meant
years.
now.
No, I meant like me at Spook's age. Fuck that person.
No, I meant now. I meant you. You and darkness are both cringy motherfuckers now.
I'm not as cringy as Spook.
Okay.
Anyway, so an old man approaches Kelsier and he notes that Vin is completely knocked
I
out.
thought that was gonna be whatever his name is.
Yeah, me too. I thought so too.
When they said old man shows
Yeah,
up,
I
I'm
was
like,
like,
oh, it's
back,
totally him.
back.
You know?
Yeah,
Who? Who'd you-
What's his
that
name?
dude.
The guy who's in every book.
Does
Oh,
it start
Hoyt?
like, with an H?
Yeah, Hoyt.
Hoyt.
we
I was like, with an H,
Yeah.
it has to have an
Yeah.
H.
already
when-
met
when
Hoyt,
they-
though.
But when they were like old man shows up, I'm like, oh, here's Hoyt
Can he not?
to give them wisdom.
Can he not pop up multiple times?
I mean, yeah, I guess he could.
I mean, he pops up multiple times in the other book in Elantris.
Yeah, he technically pops up twice in Elantris, but only, I think, once by name. Well, excluding that epilogue. The special epilogue they added later.
That's
But
three
yeah.
times, right?
Yeah, he technically shows up 3 times, one time not by name, though, so unless you're like... I think like that's only been revealed because people asked Brandon. He's like, yeah, that technically was Hoyt. But anyway, so an old man...
People just know things, you know?
An old man approaches Kelsier and he notes that Vin is completely knocked out from pewter drag, but that he hasn't succumbed to it yet. At first, Kelsier doesn't recognize the man, but he reintroduces himself as Menace, the old man from Trusting's plantation that Kelsier has spoken to in the prologue. Menace notes that he was the one to prepare.
Oh, that's who this guy was.
Yes.
You didn't know?
No, I didn't.
I made sure to put that in because I wasn't sure if you guys would remember who he was.
Yeah, I was like, who the hell? Like, how did you meet him? I don't remember.
Yeah, so he's from the prologue. He's the guy who's like, we don't want like issues with.
Yeah,
like,
in
don't
my head, I
want
was like,
you
why the
here.
fuck are you here? Like, you literally didn't even want to be here in the first place.
Well, Kelsier, as he says, like kind of forced them because he like killed
Well, he
their
could have just gone to
plantation
a different
leader or something.
plantation.
Well, I think he says that some others did do that.
Exactly, he could have just gone with them.
We'll go into
So
his
why
thing
is he
here.
there?
We'll go into it here. Let me finish. So
No,
Menace
don't
notes
finish.
Menace notes that he was the one to prepare the men as he's too old to fight, and that most of the Ska from the plantation had gone to find new plantations to join. And I believe he says, actually, I didn't actually put in his reasoning in here. I believe he says his reasoning for being here is that like he had thought more about it, and he's like, no, you were right. We should resist.
Yeah, you should definitely.
Oh, you know what it might have
evil
been?
fucking people.
It might have been that thing that we were. Well, maybe not, because it was only the city. You know what? Forget it. I thought it was the soother thing we learned later.
Damn.
Oh
cringe.
no. So an old man. I did that. So Menace also notes that Yedin had been too easily impressed, and his generals had convinced him to try out the army. Kelsier states that even if they had succeeded, it would have made the army useless to them. He then tells Menace that they'll lose the rest of the army among the Ska population in Luthadel so that they can go back to normal lives. Menace then states that although he resents Kelsier for forcing him into this, it gave him purpose. He also states that although Kelsier was the inspiration for the attack, that the men chose to do that and get themselves killed. Which I still feel like Kelsier is partially at fault, at least.
I don't think I think Kelsey's involved or not involved. At fault, but I don't fully think he's at fault, like at all. Like,
Yeah, that's what
he
I'm
just
saying.
put-
Like, I
he
agree
just
that
put the
with-
shit in their head.
Yeah.
They chose to do this.
Well, that's
they
what I'm-
chose to go there.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, is that Menace is right, but I still think Kelsier is partially at fault. Like, I still think he kind of,
Sure.
like, made them feel like they could do more than they could.
But I mean, in that same vein, though, so is God damn it, what's his name now? Whatever the brute guy's name is,
Ham?
the guy who uses Pewter. Ham, yeah. Ham is also at fault because he's been training them to fight. So, like, I mean, without the training, they wouldn't even have gone in there with any idea.
So they would have died faster.
So Menace is also
Or
shocked.
not died at all if they never got the training.
Menace is also shocked that Kelsier actually expected them to overthrow the final empire. He states that it was never about winning or losing to most of them, but just about resisting. He says that Kelsier needs to know not just what battles to pick, but also when to quit. Kelsier is dumbfounded when Menace calls this one of the greatest victories for the Ska, and notes that he doesn't just need to fight the final empire, but also thousands of years of conditioning of the Ska. Once Menace is out of earshot, he states that he'll show Menace a real victory, and then he forces himself to smile, because that was how he proved to the Lord Ruler and himself that he wasn't beaten. He wasn't finished yet, not by far. So were you surprised to see Menace again, first of all?
Yeah, now that I know who he is.
Yeah, now that you know who he is.
Yeah, kind of like Darkness. I was like, why are you here?
I don't like that he's there.
Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like he could be he could be betraying them somehow.
I think one reason as well that Menace might be there is I believe it's mentioned in the prologue that Menace is definitely one of the older, like he's like super elderly, and most plantation leaders will kill elderly Ska if they don't think they can work well enough. So he's probably getting to an age where he's like, if I go to another plantation, I'm probably going to get killed off soon.
Soon or like immediately?
Possibly immediately, depending on what plantation he shows up at.
Ew, old people.
Yeah, you old people. Oh no.
Because I think Menace was struggling with not like just laying in bed and letting them come kill him, like when
Oh,
Kelsier
no.
shows up.
That means Midnight wouldn't be able to go to a plantation.
Wow.
No. What are you talking about? She's not old. She's just short.
She's a grandma.
I'm not a grandma.
If she's a grandma, so am I.
Yeah.
No, you're an ancient person.
I'm an ancient? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So also, what did you think of Menace and Kelsier's conversation?
They had a conversation.
I was mostly annoyed that he was there, to be honest. That's
all you felt about it?
Yeah, it was so annoying.
I didn't even remember who he was, so.
Yeah, but then there was that little part in my head that was like, you know what? Yeah, bitch. Like, know your place, you know? Oh, no. I don't know if I'm made for this place or if I'm not.
I mean, you'd be a great noble.
Probably.
Shut up, bitch. Do what I say.
So then we got to chapter 26, which is the start of part 4, called Dancers in a Sea of Mist. And there's a very short epigraph here, which is just
very short.
Just one
Kinda
sentence.
Annoyed me.
It says, "I am growing so very tired." So what do you think this is in reference to? What do you think that he is growing tired of?
I don't know, but at that point, when I read that, I was like, me too. Me too.
I was gonna say, because you always read this in like the middle of the night, Darkness.
Yeah, I was like, me too.
Damn, dude, me too.
No, but like, maybe it's like all the pestering that people with prophecies get and shit, you know?
You think it's just like a lot of pressure being put on him?
Yeah, there's like, or maybe he's tired of all the killings he's doing. You know?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
He actually has remorse. He's not just a serial killer.
I'm pretty sure he's mentioned in multiple epigraphs that he doesn't like killing people.
Maybe he actually has remorse and he, isn't a
or maybe
serial killer.
Maybe he's just going numb. Like he's so tired of.
It also makes me believe that the one dude is actually the Lord Ruler now.
Which dude?
Whatever the guy's name is, I can't think of it.
Rashek?
Yeah, Rashek. That's it. Yeah.
Correct.
Surprised you were so into him for that. Like I thought you just keep remembering his name, but somehow Darkness is the one who remembers it.
I don't remember anybody's names.
I was interested in the next epigraph.
So we start with Ben's point of view.
Where Rashek kills him? Yeah, same.
We start with Ben's point of view. She wakes up recovering from her pewter drag, even though she was back in Club's shop, and had traveled back from the caverns for over 2 weeks. Kelsier had said exposing her body to pewter drag would be good for her in the long term, and at first she didn't agree, but now that the effects were lessening, she does see the reason for it. Finn also notes how she had been taking beds and baths for granted, and it feels good to enjoy them again. However, she still found longer hair annoying, even if hers wasn't even shoulder length yet. Once dressed, she goes downstairs to see Club, Stocks, and Ham, and Breeze eating quietly. Ham states that they had been discussing the state of the plan, considering their employer and army are dead. The 4 men turn to her, and Vin is surprised that they seem to be looking for her opinion. So previously, Vin has always been like, oh, they don't really consider me part of the crew, they don't really care about my opinion. Like, They obviously care about her opinion at least now. So what do you think about that?
I got annoyed. I don't know. A lot of these chapters and the things in them have been really annoying to me. But this part, I was like, okay, we've been over this. I'm pretty sure. Why are you still acting that way? Like, I get it. You're traumatized, but like, move on. You don't have time for this.
What did you think, Mythic?
About her complaining about how she's somehow part of the group.
Well, just about like how like she's obviously like is taken seriously as part of the group, at least now.
Because she is part of the group.
Yeah.
This girl who's like, you're gonna take me every time you go do something, Kelsier, and then you're gonna be like, nah, I don't want to be the person that you look to. Nah.
Well,
you
something she
obviously
doesn't
are a
want to be.
queen.
She's surprised that they actually want to consider her opinion.
Because she's the queen.
The fact that you said she is queen is so fucking amusing to me. Because in my head right now, when you were talking, I was like, "This bitch was supposed to be queen." Like,
Yeah,
really?
she a queen?
She's not.
I mean, she's not a queen. You don't think so?
No.
Even though her mother says she is.
Her mother was a ska. You can't believe shit from her.
Oh god, the royals coming out of darkness. Oh no.
Darkness
is too royal now.
Noble, you mean?
Nope, royal.
Okay. So Dachshund then asks if Vin wants something to eat, but Vin just asks for ale, even though it's not even noon. Ham chuckles and asks if Vin is experiencing pewter drag and that it'll pass soon. To which Vin responds that she may die first. Ham, which honestly, I can feel that sometimes. I'm just dying. Don't talk to me. So Ham then asks what Vin's opinion is, and she mentions that all that is left is Marsh invading the Ministry and Kelsier starting the House War, which none of the rest of them are needed for. Ham then mentions that he got back during the night, as the part-time soldiers were sent back early so that they didn't have to pay for them. It's also mentioned that the garrison will be out looking for rebels for a while, as apparently large groups of rebels broke off and ran. So were you surprised to find out that some groups of rebels besides the ones Kelsier and Vin found were still alive, and do you think any of them will be able to be saved?
Save rebels? Like what?
Like, do you think that like the crew?
But who would
like,
save rebels though? I mean, like, they're rebelling.
Because they're also rebels.
Nah,
Why would-
they're
why
on the
would
right
they-
side of history.
The thing is, like, who in the group would do it? Like, in my mind, like,
What? Who would
Who would
save
be
the
able to
rebels?
go out and
Yeah.
save them?
because, like, not only
All
that, but
all
at
your
that
despots.
point, that like small ass army they're left with, it's kind of a waste at that point.
Mm.
Like going to like try and add those small numbers that are surviving or whatever.
Mm.
Kind of agree
Just-
with you, but
Off with all their heads, you know.
oh god. All right, get off your high imperial ass, okay?
Kelsier then comes downstairs to see them with his usual cheerfulness. Breeze says the plan had failed and asks if Kelsier even cares that their men are dead. Kelsier's cheerfulness turns solemn as he says he does care, but that the job isn't over. Don't make fun of my list, Darkness.
Kelthier, yeah, you're Kelthier, yeah. I hear it all the time when she says
Oh
stuff.
my god, Kelsier.
Kelthier, yeah.
Gosh. Bree says he needs so he says the job isn't over. Bree says he needs to know when to give up, and Kelsier angrily tells Breeze to never soothe him, causing Breeze to flinch. Breeze then accuses
Never soothe me.
Breeze then accuses Kelsier of only wanting to do this job to become the most famous crew leader that ever lived, and that he was just using them all. Silence engulfs the room, but it's broken by Spook rushing in and shouting that there's a gathering in the fountain square. Kelsier states that they're going to watch.
True.
So what did you think about Kelsier and Breeze's interaction?
I mean,
Breeze is the one that was like, never soothe me, right?
I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to be soothed either. So you know,
Breeze is a hypocrite.
a hypocrite.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, Breeze isn't the one saying don't soothe me. Kelsier said to Breeze, don't soothe me.
Yeah.
Oh right. Wait, no, but he's also a hypocrite then. The fuck.
Well, I mean, but first off, I'm pretty sure Breeze doesn't want to be soothed either. Okay, so
I don't know, the way Breeze looks at soothing, he probably wouldn't mind.
you,
He's like, tasty.
yeah, give me more.
Kelsey's weird.
Kelsier has a god complex, obviously.
I don't. Maybe.
He thinks he's better than everybody, except for Vin. He doesn't think he's better.
Maybe that's why his failures hit him so hard.
Yeah, because he thinks he could be better. Yeah.
So we skip to the crew walking through crowded streets. Ham mentions he doesn't like to go to these, and Breeze is wearing ska clothing like everyone else for once. Vin notes that the only reason for all the ska to be out and working is and not working is executions. Bells ring to indicate that all of the Ska nobles need to come out and attend, and obligators wander through buildings looking for anyone who hasn't left and kill them if they find people not coming. They make their way through the crowd to a building, and Doxson bribes a man with coins to let them onto the roof. Kelsier then has clubs smoke them as they settle up on the roof, and Vin notes that the streets are filled with Ska, and there's an area near the fountain square that has seating and guards for nobles to sit. There are also obligators near the nobles, and 8 inquisitors in black. The inquisitors are about a head taller than the obligators and have a distinct posture. As Vin uses Tin to enhance her senses, she points out her father to Kelsier. Doxson asks who it is, and Kelsier says her father is Tavidian, the Lord Prelan. Breeson explains that the Lord Prelan is the head of the ministry and ranks even higher than inquisitors. So what do you think about Vin's dad?
Cool.
Of course. It had to be the guy, you know?
Well, yeah, it has to be somebody up, high echelon, obviously.
I'm surprised it wasn't even the Lord Ruler at that point. He needs no woman.
I mean, in all honesty, I could also have seen the Lord Ruler, seeing how Vin is so, well gifted with allomancy, but...
I was gonna say annoying, but yeah.
I feel like, though, I would
have a grudge.
Unless he had a plan, though, I don't think the Lord Ruler would have let children away, though.
I mean,
he probably did have a plan if it were him, though.
Yeah, right. What if it wasn't his, what if he couldn't find her?
I'm just saying, I don't think he would have even let a woman he slept with, go get through a pregnancy.
Okay, but what if she was just a surrogate for, him and the ministry leader?
What if he just wanted her bones?
And then she was gonna be an actual queen.
Oh my god!
So she could be, so she could be, his next body. He's lived for however fucking long. He has to have probably taken some bodies,
Okay, Orochimaru.
Yes, he had it right. All right.
So Spook then points out the Lord Ruler's carriage, black with 2 massive white stallions pulling it, and it comes towards the square. Finn burns copper as she feels the Lord Ruler's oppressive soothing, but feels like she can still feel it despite her copper. Finn then notices Kelsey are beginning to riot their emotions to help keep the soothing from affecting them, and Finn helps. So were you surprised that the Lord Ruler came out? This is technically your guys' first, even though we don't really get to see him, it's kind of your guys' first sight of the Lord Ruler.
I mean, we don't get to see anything. It's just words on a page, but sure.
Yeah, always be skeptical of rulers you cannot see.
I see.
We learned that in the first book.
So there's also prison carriages behind the Lord Ruler's carriage, and both Spook and Kelsier burn tin to see if they can recognize any of the prisoners. Kelsier notes that it's mainly women and children, and likely randomly chosen, as the soldiers wouldn't have taken the time to identify the dead Ska rebels to find their families. The Inquisitors and Obligators then position 4 Ska at a time at 4 bowl-like areas of the fountain and begin beheading them with obsidian axes. Fountains begin to turn red with blood. As the crew watches, sickened and sad, Kelsier begins to monologue about how this is what they are fighting. He also points out some nobles who seem to be joking around and laughing. Finn, however, notices Ellen with a group of nobles who look horrified. What did you think about the executions?
I thought it was dumb.
You didn't like the big bloody fountains?
Okay, so, I mean, the violence is great, but,
oh god.
The way they chose to, incorporate it into, we're these powerful people that can do this,
Because they are.
But for they're doing it, to try and make it seem like, oh, it was because of this reason, when they implemented it in a, it's, not the right way.
I mean, killing people isn't the right way to do anything, but still, kind of got to show a force, if you're gonna rule with fear, you have to kind of have a show of force.
Yeah, but ruling with fear hasn't been working out.
I mean, it worked out for thousands of years.
8,000. He's only been ruling for 8,000 years. 1,000.
Okay, for 1,000 years, this ruling has worked.
So Kelsier then agrees that Breeze was right before, that it wasn't about the ATM, but instead it was about changing things. Yedin was an excuse to pretend to just be thieves while still doing good. He states that he chose each of them for the crew because he knew them to be of good conscience and not just for their skills. He then states if they stay, they need to stop questioning him, though. Doxson says he doesn't think that they ever really questioned him that much, but that the army was a big part of their plans. Kelsier points out that the garrison is gone, chasing the rebels, and that they could be gone for months. Thus the rebellion worked, even if the outcome for the men in it was not what he wanted. Ham then asks about what happens if the garrison comes back, and Kelsier reminds him that Ham had said that those men were easily paid off mercenaries, and that if they had the atium, they'd easily be able to sway them and turn them against the Lord Ruler. Finn then glances back at the blood-red fountains and the Lord Ruler's carriage, which you can just barely see a silhouette inside, and thinks that that is the real enemy. They have to beat the Lord Ruler, otherwise everything else is pointless. Do you agree that taking Luthadel is pointless without taking down the Lord Ruler?
Well, yeah, because he just takes it back. That's pretty much how it is. Like, he's just going to take it back. I mean, even if you get him out of the city, he's still just going to. I feel like he can just come back and take it back. He seems extremely powerful, and he's lived for a fucking long time. So
that's exactly how we're gonna overthrow you, Midnight.
Wow.
I mean,
wait, we're overthrowing Midnight?
No.
When did this happen?
Yeah.
Why was I not involved in this planning? I want to be in the planning on this.
Anyways, chapter 27, which has a much longer epigraph.
Thankfully.
It says, I think I've finally discovered why Rashek resents me so much. He does not believe that an outsider such as I, a foreigner, could possibly be the hero of ages. He believes that I have somehow tricked the philosophers, that I wear the piercings of the hero unjustly. According to Rashek, only a terraceman of pure blood should have been chosen as the hero. Oddly, I find myself more determined because of his hatred. I must prove to him that I can perform this task. So do you think that Rashek is quoting the prophecies when he says only a purebred terraceman should be the hero of ages, or do you think he's just being biased because the prophecies come from Terrace?
I think
he's racist.
I think he's right.
You think Rashek's right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's biased.
I think he's racist.
Sorry, what did you say, Darkness?
I think it is technically a terraceman, but not a full-blooded one.
So you think maybe this guy who's writing this journal is like half Terrace or something?
Yeah, because they talk about how like the Lord Ruler or whatever wears piercings and all that, right? Or like jewelry.
I have a thought on that too, but yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, can they be both Allomancer and Ferochemist?
We don't know.
Oh,
that's
okay.
your way of saying yes, probably.
I'm saying probably. We don't know because the Terracemen are like specifically breeded, so I don't think they're allowed to breed with other people.
But they weren't always breeded.
And they're not allowed to breed with other people because he wants to be the only half and half, right? Why are you so silent?
I don't know. I don't have any comments. Like we don't have any information.
No, you hear that. You hear that in her voice. You hear that shit.
It's that I don't want to say nothing because I might tell them what, the end of the story is.
Did you guys have any other thoughts on that epigraph?
Oh yeah,
Rashek for queen.
Oh, that would be awesome.
What were you gonna say there, Darkness?
Oh, I think Rashek is salty because he's like half like Terraceman, and then he's like, nah, it should have been me,
Because it should have.
I hope he gets killed though.
That would definitely put Mythic's idea of Rashek being a Lord Ruler down the drain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm surprised this man. Wait, first off, the person writing this seems to have killed a lot of people,
especially friends.
Well, yeah. So why would you not kill the guy who is literally opposing you?
Because he says that he literally only kills people as a last resort.
But he killed his friends and his family.
Apparently as a last resort.
It could have been a corruption.
So anyway, chapter 27. The crew gets back to Clubs' shop after hours of executions. The Lord Ruler and the Obligators had apparently left all of the bodies there. Kelsier then begins discussing the plan again, which it's determined that the most important part is now the house war, that they need to take down some more of the houses. Kelsier also mentions that some of Breeze's and Dox's aliases may need to be used to help with this, including Vin's persona at balls to work in bad information. It's also mentioned that House Venture will be a large target of theirs since it's the largest house. Even if Elend may be alright, his father is not. So yeah, had you expected at this point that they were going to actually continue the plan?
Yes, 100%. I figured they were going to spin it in a way that it would make it work. Which is pretty much what they did.
What do you think, Darkness?
Yeah, I agree. That, I don't know.
We're too invested now.
I hate how it turns out, though. Half the fucking preparations were there for no reason.
Well, no, because they said that the army basically did what it needed to do, just in a way that they weren't wanting it to go.
And probably a little too soon. But.
Yeah, it's we'll get into that, but they basically have to push up their timeline because of this.
Yeah. So
But
How
technically,
how much time has passed, by the way, since like
a
Finn
couple
got brought into
months.
I think like half a
I,
year,
Yeah, a
something.
I
couple
think it's
months.
been like 7
I
months.
think it's
Yeah.
been because I think at one point we get like what isn't it like a 4 month skip or something?
It was 6 months, I'm pretty
I don't
sure.
think it was it? I
I'm
don't
Well, I
remember.
mean,
pretty
Vin
sure.
was asleep for 2 months.
Oh
So
Yeah, she was also
God, I have
asleep
another
for
call.
2. But
I'll
I
be
think
back.
again, another call. Okay.
but yeah, Mythic, their original timeline was a year. I
Yeah,
think it's
I know.
probably been around 6. I think it's probably been
They're
around
pushing it.
6. So yeah, they're pushing it up like a good like 2 to 4 months.
Oh, I mean, I'm more surprised that they allowed 2 months to pass with Vin being like
Well, I'm sure they were doing other
incapacitated,
stuff. It was just Vin's part that wasn't moving along.
being done.
Like they were still recruiting and stuff.
But I mean, like, wouldn't you push the person though? Like afterwards, you'd be like, "Okay, you're back from the coma. We really need you to go out here and do this."
Alright, I'm back.
Oh, it's back.
So Sazed in a skull cloak then arrives and mentions hiding the men in Renault's warehouses. Kelsier then says he wants them in Luthadel, and Ham suggests keeping them in squads of a couple hundred men living near each other. Kelsier replies that each squad should think that they're the only squad still active, just in case one gets caught. The crew also discusses continuing recruitment and mentioning that they successfully neutralized the garrison, and just gloss over the deaths of all those guys, and hope that a lot of Scar are angry over the executions enough to join. Which, yeah, let's just gloss over the fact that, like, probably close to 5,000 men died, but whatever. We neutralized the garrison anyways.
Yeah, I mean, who cares, right? Like, they were fodder anyways.
They did their job.
Yep.
So it's then noted.
They're not people. We don't think of them as people. They're just objects for us to use.
Seiza mentions that there was a note received from Marsh stating he was back in Luthadel and had news. It also lists a location for where to meet him that night. Kelsier invites Vin to go scope out the place ahead of time, and then tells the rest of the crew that he wants the city on the verge of breaking within 2 months.
Real fast.
Yeah. We then skip to Vin and Kelsier waiting at a building across from the one Marsh had instructed them to meet at, keeping an eye out for him. Vin asks Kelsier if he's really going to get the Lord Ruler out of Luthadel, and Kelsier says the 11th metal will take care of him. Vin, however, questions if it really works, and Kelsier eventually admits he doesn't know how it works yet. Kelsier then says he thinks that although the Lord Ruler is a very powerful Allomancer, he still is more a man than a god. Vin brings up feeling his allomancy through her copper, which Kelsier insists isn't possible. We also learn that Kelsier hasn't even tried the 11th metal yet, because trying to burn it could kill him if it's not actually an elementic metal. Thus, he's been hoping for clues in the logbook. So, were you shocked to learn that Kelsier hasn't even tried the 11th metal yet?
No, not at all. He stated it a long time ago that
he keeps saying he doesn't know how it works. I think
but
I had even forgotten that he hadn't tried it yet, because I think I've stated in previous episodes, like, oh yeah, I think he's probably just trying it like by himself. Like, I'd completely forgotten about this, that he hasn't even tried using it.
Yeah, I thought he tried it too.
It makes sense though not to use it. Like, if it's not a metal, like if it's not one of the elementic metals, it's gonna detriment you. So why would you do so, especially in such a tumultuous time right now?
Well, to be fair, if you're gonna use it against the Lord Ruler, you're gonna want to know how it works.
Do you need to though? Like, if you just take it and it makes you a god, then you just gotta do better.
If you take it and you die instantly, then
you're dead anyways because you're fighting the Lord Ruler. Like, either way, you're dead. So take the chance.
On the spot before even doing it.
Yep. Well, yeah, because I mean, at least if it works, if it works, then right, you can use it and effectively use it then. But if it doesn't work, you're dead anyways because you're fighting the Lord Ruler.
So, also, do you think that Vin actually felt the Lord Ruler soothing through her copper, or do you think Kelsier was right that, like, she was probably just, like, anxious because he was there anyways?
I don't think Kelsier's ever right in anything. At least not when it comes to Vin. I don't think Kelsier's right in anything that comes to Vin. I think Vin is a special case in some way, shape, or form.
What do you think, Douglas?
Special.
I think she did feel it through. Also, I was just thinking right now, what if, like, if it is half Terraceman and half, like, what is it, Ska or whatever?
Half Allomancer.
Yeah, it'd be half Allomancer. They don't have to be a Ska to be an Allomancer.
Yeah, technically, I think technically Ska or Noble can be. I think technically anyone can be an Allomancer as long as they have an Allomancer in their family line. It's
Five,
not.
Yeah, well,
in 5 like a 5 generations. Yeah.
you know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
If that's the case, would he be able to store
Heal.
the like
As a terrorist, yeah, I have thoughts on that.
like, but like store like the strength of your elements? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like so. Basically, what you're saying is kind of like how the terrorist people or whatever. What there's a different name I know there is,
The
but
Ferrochemists?
Ferrochemist. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
The
there's
Ferrochemist where
Ferrochemists
they
and
put stuff in a
Allomancers.
metal. I feel like if you had both Allomancy and that, yes, you could probably take and put your Allomancy into a metal. Like that would be insane if it's true.
Yeah, because you could just like, in my mind, the way that would work is you burn the metal, and then you like the effects you would place it on the like respective metal that you're wearing instead of like activating the effects on the spot.
Well, that's the thing. So I have a theory, kind of going with my Rashek theory, that if it is Rashek, who
Mhm.
is known to be, a terrorist or whatever, or from terrorists or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck that place is called, and I would assume he would also be like the Ferrochemist.
It seems like all of
So
the Pac-Men are Ferrochemists based on, I think, the
yeah,
next. Is it the next chapters?
that's what I was gonna wait on.
Yeah.
The one epigraph that comes up that says something like that. But
Yeah.
it made me think. Well, if I'm right and it is Rashek, maybe he is storing his abilities into metals, which is why he has all the metal on him, and they assume it's because like, oh well, he's the Lord Ruler. We'll have a fad off of this, like all the royal people
Yeah, they
would.
think he's just
But
showing off because, like, oh,
yeah,
Allomancers don't scare me.
yeah, and really, it's not that. It's something like
Yeah,
kind of like he has a metal objects, which I mean would make a lot more sense. But yeah, I like your theory though that they could have both because like it hasn't been stated they can't be both. Maybe they can.
Yeah, we know nothing about the
Derek
past
Thomas.
besides what's in the logbook, so we don't know if potentially there is a crossover. We just know that since the Lord
We
Ruler
also
took
don't.
over, Karismen have been specifically bred, so there would be no chance of crossover. So if you can be both, there would be no evidence of that they have.
Yep.
So we don't know.
Wonder why? I wonder why you're breeding them specifically for that reason.
Well, they say that Say says that he's bringing them to keep away ferrochemists and just get rid of all ferrochemists in general.
Could be both.
So Vin then asks Kelsier about feruchemy, and he explains that all feruchemy is internal. It stores every attribute separately, but can store some things that allomancy can't do, such as speed, memories, weight, and age. He also mentions how, unlike allomancy, you need to spend time storing the attribute. To store health, which we finally get to a metals can store health, Mythic.
Yep.
There's finally, it's a feruchemical ability, but not an allomantic one.
That was darkness, by the way. That wanted the
Oh, was
healing
it?
thing.
I thought it was you, because you had like your
No,
50
dark.
metal chart.
Yeah, no, I have it on there, but that's only because darkness made the comment at one point about
Well, there
healing,
you
and I was like, that would be a
yeah.
cool
No,
metal.
I kept like fucking. I want healing.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
feruchemists can
I
heal.
mean, hey, I was happy when we got to learn what the one metal was. Okay,
Yeah,
like
we'll get to that in a minute. So
I was ecstatic.
yeah, so to store health, you need to spend time being sick. In allomancy, the metal is the fuel, and in feruchemy, the metal is a storage device, and your body is the fuel. Also, you can't use the stored powers of any feruchemist except yourself. So, what did you think about this more in detail information about feruchemy?
They explained how you can also like do the age thing.
Yeah, so they said that abilities that allomancy doesn't have are things like speed, memories, weight, and age. So
Yeah,
that
and
kind
I was wondering like how do you think the age thing works?
How
of
do
storing
you?
age.
I mean, I would assume
Yeah,
it's like you choose to say, hey, yeah, I don't. I'm, I'm losing a bit of my years.
yeah, but like, what if you put too much into it?
Because you die, and if I put a
Like,
year in and I die, I die
like
because I did that. Well,
let's say you put like 20 years into that shit, bro. Like, do you revert to a younger version, or do you like turn into an older version?
We don't know.
this would be really cool though.
Also, I just wanted to mention on the speed one. So although Vin and
Wait, we're
Kelsier
doing speed
ran,
now? All right, let's go.
I was just going to talk about the speed one. So because although Vin and Kelsier used Peter to run for 16 hours, they were technically still running at like a human speed. They just weren't getting tired, so like they were able to run at like top speed. Whereas they mentioned, especially for like when he was talking to Say, is like they can actually store speed, so he could actually run faster.
So he would have got there in 14 hours.
So yeah, so then we're gonna be getting into what Mythic has been predicting for a long time.
Go.
So Kelsier then gives some. First of all, though, Kelsier gives some ATM to Vin just in case March was tortured or trailed to this location and they get found. He also brings up how it's weird that the logbook doesn't mention Allomancy when they know the Lord Ruler is an Allomancer, but wonders if he snapped sometime during his travels in the Terrace Mountains. He also mentions that the translations are almost complete. Then Vin brings up the 9th metal and asks if it's an alloy of atium. Kelsier says it isn't, as the 2 higher metals don't work the same as the basic 8. He also
I
mentions that
mean, he says that, but
he calls it a compliment though to it, and I'm like, it's kind of. I guess maybe
it is the opposite, though.
Yeah, I'm wondering though if like he means it that way because like he doesn't mention how if ATM or gold is like pushing or pulling, so maybe they're both technically a pulling or pushing. He doesn't like mention why.
Yeah, I mean, like I understand the way he was saying it. It's like it's not one of the 8 that are push and pull, like the difference are push and pull.
But they're still compliments.
But yeah, but the thing I'm getting at is like it still is. It's like you could still, from a narrative standpoint, see it as you're pulling yourself back or you're pushing yourself forward in time.
Yeah.
So like it could still be a push and pull thing.
Yeah. So he also mentions not bringing it up since it's not very useful and a bit uncomfortable to burn. He has a little speech about getting the right purities of metals before offering Vin a gold boxing and a file. So as Vin
That's
burns,
what I thought was cool. The file thing.
you little file off some gold
Yeah, like
shavings.
let's just file off shavings of a gold piece. Like, I mean, like first off, the other thing that I thought was really interesting is that gold is brittle, like supposedly, like
Yeah.
So, like, it's one of the weakest metals. Yet that does not seem weak at all.
So as Vin burns the gold, she sees 2 versions of herself from each of the versions' perspectives. One woman who trusts drinks given to her by people and doesn't pay attention to who's around her, and a girl who is lonely, hateful, and untrusting. Once she's done burning the metal, Kelsier explains that gold is a complement to atium and lets you see what you would have been had the past been a little different. Kelsier says no one really understands gold fully, and that his mentor Gemmel had told him that gold shows shadows of what you would have been if you made different choices. Vin thinks that she doesn't want to ever burn gold again. What did you think about gold?
I thought it was awesome.
I thought it was
Also,
it
was gold.
I didn't understand shit of
You
like.
you didn't understand the multiverse theory? That's pretty much what that is.
Okay, but like, what is it supposed to do?
It shows you different
your
versions
past.
of yourself.
Yeah. Which okay, now that I think about it though, it does I guess it would be a compliment. Like it would be very similar to ATM because like if you used it, you could see like if I chose to do something kind of idea. Like if I chose in the past, if I had chosen to do this, would it have been better? But
So obviously one of the versions of herself is if she never joined Kelsier's crew. And then the other one seems to be like her like enjoying all the noble parties and stuff. And like completely I think is supposed to be forgetting her past. Because like she's still
forget your brother. Just forget him.
Yeah.
For once, please, Vin. Forget your goddamn brother.
He's basically the one who raised her. It's hard to forget her brother.
Forget him. He's not helping you. He's probably going to be a detriment at some point. We haven't seen it yet. I am really waiting for him to come back and be like evil.
He's dead.
You think he's dead?
Probably.
Thinks he's gonna find out that he's dead?
Probably.
No, I'm asking the questions because Midnight doesn't ask the good questions.
Wow. So they then meet up with
Probably.
Marsh, and Vin is shocked to see obligator tattoos around his eyes, along with a red line that shows he's part of the Ministry of Inquisition. Marsh quickly explains that he has
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
I know, right? Marsh quickly explains that he has maybe been too good and gotten the attention of some high prelats. It's also noted that he had to tell them he was a seeker, as they really like seekers, and also most high-ranking officials are mistings. Marsh then explains that the Ministry has soothing stations all around the city, especially in Ska areas. This is why the Luthadel Ska are especially emotionally defeated. Marsh explains that these soothers are even more efficient than Breeze, as they only soothe all day, every day.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't say that while Breeze was present, because
Yeah, Breeze would
I'm
be like,
like,
"Excuse
I feel
you."
like Breeze would have been like, nah, they ain't anywhere. They're not good. I'll show you.
They also have a smoker to hide them and a seeker looking out for allomancers.
So basically, they're like this crew, but
Yeah, they're basically a crew of like,
They're the Men in
however,
Black.
multiple soothers and then like a seeker and a smoker.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like he's literally. It's like he's literally doing what they're doing, where they set up all these different mistings.
Yeah. So Marsh says he'll try to get a list of locations for Kelsier, but to be careful with the information. So what were your thoughts on these soothing stations?
I mean, it made sense why they were all defeated little bitches.
Darkness?
Yeah, I thought it was cool, but in it, like like I'm not supposed to, because they're bad people. But like I thought it was cool.
I mean, if you want to be one of these bad people, you've already stated that pretty much.
Fair.
You keep acting like them, so.
So Marsh also brings up the Inquisitors, and he mentions that they aren't immortal, and they all seem to be Mistborns, and have to be changed out every so often because they do die of old age. Also, the Inquisitors think that they should be in charge of the Ministry and not the Lord Prelan, which we've learned is Vin's dad. So they're all angry at Vin's dad, apparently, these Inquisitors.
Huh.
Marsh then hurries off, and Kelsier thanks him for the dangerous job, which Marsh appreciates the sentiment, even if he isn't doing this for Kelsier. Kelsier then tells Vin she needs to go to Renault's manor, as there is a ball she needs to attend in a few days. What do you think about the fact that Inquisitors are not immortal?
I mean, kind of expected that.
Yeah, for sure.
I think nobody's immortal in this world.
I don't know about that.
I mean, they stated it already. A couple people haven't been immortal. I mean, aside from our friend, I can't think of his name again, but aside from the guy who's been in every book.
Void?
Yeah. Aside from Void, nobody's immortal.
So we then have the chapter 28 epigraph, which is, sometimes my companions claim that I worry and question too much. However, while I may wonder about my stature as the hero, there is one thing that I have never questioned, the ultimate good of our quest. The deepness must be destroyed. I have seen it, and I have felt it. This name we give it is too weak a word, I think. Yes, it is deep and unfathomable, but it is also terrible. Many do not realize that it is sapient, but I have sensed its mind, such that it is, the few times I have confronted it directly. It is a thing of destruction, madness, and corruption. It would destroy this world not out of spite or out of animosity, but simply because that is what it does. So do you have any new thoughts on the deepness, or the fact the writer has confronted it directly and believes it to be sapient?
Do we have any theories on the darkness? Yeah.
The deepness.
The darkness. I mean, aside from the fact that darkness is right here with us,
I still think it's some sort of like corruption, bro.
I mean, I kind of agree with you there. I mean, it makes more sense. It would make the most sense if it was like a corruption, and that's why he's got to kill all the people.
What do you think about the fact that it's sapient?
Sentient?
It says sapient, not sentient.
Which is why I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, wait, what? I don't know. Maybe I just heard it wrong when they said it. I don't know. That's a listen to it again.
They definitely said sapient though.
Yeah, it is sapient. I think
when I first read it, I was
by that I think he means like it's a creature, because I think because like it's always shown right in these stained glass windows as like this dark formless mass, and like he says like it goes across the land and like destroys things. So I think people seem to think it's just like some sort of like force of nature, whereas he's like whereas he's like, no, it's like actually like a creature or like a thing with a mind. Like it might not be sentient like a human, but it has a mind.
It's an elder brain. An elder brain. Do you not know what an elder brain is? Neither one of you know what an elder brain is? My D&D friend over here doesn't know what an elder brain is?
I don't think I know.
What? Oh my god. So an elder brain is basically like this creature that is able to create a hive mind, and it's usually associated with illithids or mind flayers. It's a giant brain that floats around, and it controls different people by kind of infusing itself into their minds, and all of them would be connected in one big hive mind. It's really cool.
Like never mind, let me not say that.
What?
I was gonna say like the thing from Stranger Things.
Actually, Stranger Things has a lot of D&D reference. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it has a lot.
I mean, the whole Demogorgon is a D&D reference.
So we start this chapter with Finn at another ball, this time at Keep Leckle. This ballroom is pyramid-shaped with 4 tiers of balconies going up. There's also a waist-high platform at the center of the room. As for the stained glass windows, they are that are in every ballroom, they are small in this keep and line the balconies. Although these windows are smaller, they are the most detailed out of any keep. Finn also notes that now that she's been reading the logbook, she can pick out scenes and landscapes mentioned in it, such as rolling emerald hills and steep mountains. Did you have any thoughts about this ballroom?
I still like the depictions of the story. Like on the
All the stained glass windows with the stories on
yeah.
it? Yeah.
I think that's my favorite part out of all of them.
Any thoughts, Mythic?
Not really.
Alright. So Vin then wanders about until she notices Lady Kliss talking to some others, and she pretends to study a window until Lady Kliss is free. Kliss goes on about a potential marriage between 2 houses, and Vin interjects regarding House Hastings. It states that it seems like they're planning on pulling out of the city. This is false information, but Dockson is planning on forging some documents and allowing it to get to the right places so that it seems like House Hastings actually is pulling out. Vin then thinks of House Venture and hopes that she won't find anything on them so that Ellen can stay safe. She doesn't want them to fall like House Tekiel, as she notes that pretty much all of their nobility were assassinated or killed in canal boat fires. So were you surprised to hear that House Tekiel was completely wiped out?
They all need to be wiped out. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's like the whole plan. So
I mean, you have to. They seem to be wanting to abolish basically the royals. So like, kind of have to wipe them all out. Like, even if you don't kill the people, you still have to wipe out the royals themselves. The what's the word? The hierarchy. You still have to take out the hierarchy. So I mean, I'm not surprised that they're trying to do that now. Thought they would have already done it, but you know.
So after walking away from Kliss, Ellen speaks out to Vin from an alcove nearby, where Vin had agreed to meet up with him. Vin is apparently a few minutes late, and Ellen says his mother had said it was good for a man to wait on a woman. Vin then mentions that people are staring at them and it will cause gossip, but Ellen doesn't care about that. He says he wants to kiss her, but she says he might not want to and asks how much he really knows about her. Ellen then asks if they should go for a stroll, which Vin agrees to. Ellen mentions...
Still waiting for why Darkness doesn't like Vin.
I think we're almost there.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Or we passed it. I don't think we passed it. I think we're almost there.
Okay. So Ellen mentions reading, and Vin says not to read with her, as although it's how their relationship began, it's also how it could end. Ellen then brings up wanting Vin to leave Luthadel, worried about her and her house getting involved in the House War. Ellen also reveals that House Hastings was the one to take out House Tekiel. Ellen then admits to Vin that House Venture isn't as secure as it seems, and that they are the ones in charge of mining the ATM. He also mentions how something happened a few years ago, and they've been having troubles with it since, which I don't think Vin catches on to, but it's very obviously Kelsier escaping and like killing off a bunch of the people there and everything.
100%.
So were you surprised that Ellen's family was in charge of mining the ATM and not the Lord Ruler directly?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was the Lord Ruler directly, so
yeah.
I was a little surprised. But
and what do you think Kelsier's going to do with this information? If you think Vin's going to tell him about it.
Hopefully kill his father and nobody else.
Well, he's definitely going to want to drop the House Venture's power, because one of his goals was a bit, so.
Yep.
Yeah. So Ellen then goes back to trying to convince Vin to leave, as he's worried people may use her to get to him. Vin then mentions to Ellen that she thinks Shan Ilariel is working to strike against him, but Ellen says that Shan is harmless. So do you think Ellen is naive to not think of Shan as a threat?
Yes.
Or do you think Darkness?
Yeah, I think so. No, I had that theory going on that they're low-key working together, so.
Wait, who's low-key working together?
His ex.
Shan and Ellen, do you think are working together?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think she was going through his books then?
I don't know, maybe they had some, message or something.
Interesting theory, though.
So Vin then realizes that Ellen is wearing a pure gold ring and is surprised and notes to him that her barrettes are painted wood. Ellen then says that the nobles follow the Lord Ruler and that some philosophers say that is his plan, but he thinks that the Lord Ruler is just arrogant and does it to flaunt that he thinks he's invincible. Which, I mean, if your guys' theory about him being part ferrochemist is true, then it's probably not either of those. It probably was just happy accidents that came along with it.
Yeah.
Ellen then says that he needs to go, and Vin mentions his meetings and asks what he does there. He mentions talking philosophy and politics. Ellen also says that they talk about what the Lord Ruler has done with his empire, and Vin blurts out that he does want to overthrow the Lord Ruler. Was that what you were talking about, Darkness? Annoyance
Yeah,
with
that's
Vin?
exactly the part I was talking
Her
about.
being like, so you do want to overthrow the
Yeah,
Lord
I was
Ruler?
like, you stupid. You're so you're like you're there to do a job, and you're like throwing it away where like people can literally fuck you over.
Yeah, and then Ellen literally gives her like the strange. He's like giving her like a really strange look, and he's like, "No, he's God. What are you talking about? I'm just
Yeah,
gonna change
he's
shit."
God.
Oh my god.
Duh. Why would we do anything to God?
So
She
yeah,
let her emotions get the best of her there, and I'm
We
just
are
like,
nothing. He is God.
so he says he just wants to try and change things. Once with him and his friends, once basically they're like in charge of their houses. Vin asks what he would do differently, but Ellen says he isn't sure, but that beheading the Ska the other day is not the right way to go about things.
Yeah, it just creates more.
Discontent.
Resentment is what I was thinking, but
Yeah.
just creates more of that, and then
Yeah, that's pretty much what Ellen says too. He's just like, yeah, no, they're just gonna get angrier. Why would that like stop the rebellion? So Ellen then leaves for his group, and Vin goes off to Shan's table. She tries to speak to Shan, but Shan mentions that she no longer requires Vin's services. Vin notes that Shan
which
must.
confused the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I
So
was like,
she
what?
she got something she wanted.
well,
I
Vin
think she's
thinks.
jealous.
Yeah, Vin thinks that Shan seems angry and jealous, and thinks she must have realized that Vin isn't trying to play Ellen, so she doesn't trust Vin to keep her secrets anymore. So that's why Vin thinks that Shan doesn't
I
want her in her plans anymore.
I definitely
I
think she's jealous, but
I don't think it's just jealousy.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
think it's just jealousy, but I definitely think she is jealous.
yeah. Vin pretty much just thinks like Shan realizes that I'm like actually interested in Ellen, and that I'll like tell him if I know her plans. Basically, I
Is
think.
she though? Is she actually into Ellen? I don't know.
I don't know. She's totally not into Ellen.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel
Uh,
like that's all just a farce.
oh, for sure. So then, were you guys surprised that we get an Ellen POV?
I was
Kind
actually. I was like,
of.
wait.
Right? So we get an
I don't
Ellen
think he was a
POV.
main character.
So we get an Ellen POV for the first time after he finishes his meeting with the other men. They're hanging out in the gentleman's lounge next to the ballroom, and he's with Jastes and Teldon. And Jastes is smoking a pipe, and Teldon is drinking. So Jastes brings up that Ellen had been spending a lot of time with Vin, and Ellen responds that he likes her. Jastes says there's something strange about Vin and implies that Vin was sent to get close to Ellen on purpose. After a bit, Jastes excuses himself to say goodbye to some guests as the ball is at his keep. When Teldon and Ellen are alone, they discuss the house war a bit more, and Teldon seems to think it'll blow over easily before he also leaves. Ellen then wonders for a moment if Jastes was right about Vin, but then pushes it from his mind and instead begins worrying again about Vin and her uncle. We then
Till later, when somebody comes in, it completely fucks his head up.
so we skip to Ellen arriving back at Keep Venture, having drunk a bit too much. As he passes his father's study, he's called out to, and he reluctantly goes in, knowing his father will pester him until he speaks to him. They also mention again that Straff is a Tinai, and then in the room with Straff is someone that Ellen calls Tensoon, which Ellen notes is a Khandra. He calls it a creature and notes that it's using the body of what was once a Hastings servant. Tensoon bows and leaves the room. What do you think of this creature called a Khandra?
It's cool.
I was wondering if it's related to the way they like the body
bone thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it.
Do you have any like other thoughts about Khandra? The little tiny paragraph we get about it.
I'd rather not go into a theory yet.
Oh, you want to wait? You can wait on a
really?
theory.
Yeah, I want to get
What's
more
your?
detail.
Ooh, I wonder what your theory is. Darkness theories.
Well, we'll get into that once we finish this chapter in a minute then. So Straff asks Ellen what he learned at the party, which Ellen just says he drank too much. He also mentions Finn, which Straff says he had banned Ellen from meeting with.
Which
Straff,
I had a feeling was true.
yeah.
When he kept not showing up, I was like, I feel like his dad got to him.
Straff then says he wants Ellen to dine with Lady Tegus for lunch the next day, as they need allies in case a house war does come. As Ellen turns to leave, he tells his father that it seems like the Hastings are planning to leave the city. Straff then mentions he tried to train Ellen in politics, but now he hopes to live to see Ellen dead, as their house would not do good under Ellen's control. He also puts down Ellen for not betting any women besides the one time he had taken Ellen to the brothel.
Besides the whore.
Yeah. So were you surprised that this information that Vin gave out got around to people so quickly? Because this was like fake information that Vin gave to Kliss, and then Ellen somehow learns about by the end of the party.
Yep, that gossip. You know.
Did you have any thoughts on that, Darkness?
No, I mean, like, she's there to do her job, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Vin went to her.
Yeah, not like
she knew what was
proud about, oh, you want to overthrow the king.
You're so upset about that.
It's so fucking dumb. Like,
I mean, Ellen was also dumb. He's like, oh yes, let me tell you about my family's secret contract with the ATM. They're both so stupid.
That also low-key pissed me off because, like, this Vin is gonna be like, Kelsey, look what I learned.
I mean, you know.
So after Ellen leaves his father's study, a servant comes up to him and says that Jastes is here to see him. When he enters the room, Jastes is waiting. God, I can't speak today. When he enters the room, Jastes is waiting in.
Or any other day.
He asks what this is about, and Jastes, Jastes or Jastes? I don't know.
I think it's Jastes.
Jastes says it's about Vin. Jastes admits that he had her carriage followed, and when it got to the city gates, there was no one inside the carriage. He says that he thinks Vin is a spy for one of the other houses, and they made her into the perfect woman to entice him and get at his father. Ellen tries to say this is ridiculous, but Jastes cuts him off and asks again where Ellen met her, which is at his reading spot that everyone knows about. Ellen bids Jastes farewell, and after trying to sleep, he goes to his servant. He says he wants the servant to tell his father that in exchange for going to the lunch the next day, he wants to borrow a couple of spies to follow someone for him. So what do you think is going to happen with these spies?
They're going to die because Kelsey is going to kill them. I don't know. I feel like they're going to find out something that put out of context and makes him believe that she's actually a spy, even though she's. I mean, I guess she is kind of a spy. So.
Yeah, I agree with that theory.
They're going to find something. It's not going to be exactly like what it. Like they're not going to find the exact information, but they're going to find something that gives way to her being a spy, and then he's gonna, get all mad about it. I'm sure, old pissy ass royal kid,
So before we go into my little couple overview questions, did you want to go over your theory, Darkness?
No, never.
What? Oh.
No, I'm keeping that theory until I get more information.
But
you want to give us a hint?
Yeah.
No.
Come on, Darkness, go into the theory.
There is no theory.
I want to know.
Next. I mean, in all due respect for Darkness here, we also want to know a lot of things, and you keep telling us no. So.
Yeah, why don't we get into your theories?
I will tell you, the first time I read this book, I totally glossed over the whole mention of what a Chondra was. I did not even remember reading that. I'll tell you that much. I was like, oh shit, they mentioned that here?
I don't even know what a Chondra is. I don't know what you're talking about. That was in this book? I don't remember.
I can give you what my first thoughts were on things.
Do it.
Remember.
If you remember?
I kind of remember.
How could you forget? I thought this was your favorite book.
No. I'll tell you Mistborn was my favorite.
I thought you said this was your favorite book. Oh, wait, no, that was the shitty Elantris. That's what.
I like Elantris and Stormlight. Alright, well, I guess we'll go into the overview questions then. So first of all, what do you think...
We were waiting on you to tell us...
What did you want to know?
What you thought the first time.
On what? What parts?
The whole book.
I can't tell you about the whole book.
Yeah, I went from start to finish. What were your initial thoughts?
I can't because we're not at the end of the book yet.
No. But what was your initial thoughts when you started reading the book till now?
When I started the book, I really was not interested in it. I did not think I was going to enjoy it. The whole kind of final Empire thing made me think that this was. It just kept reminding me of Star Wars of The Last Empire, whatever it's called. And I was like, it really put me off, and I was like, it felt too the names the Lord Ruler, the Final Empire. It felt very sci-fi to me, even though this isn't sci-fi. And I was very put off, and I felt like the action was too quick. It felt like it was because the first thing I had read was Stormlight, and Stormlight's a bit slower because it's a lot longer. And I felt like it was rushing into the action, and it felt way too fast-paced for me. And I'm not big on heist stuff. I wasn't really into the heist The whole like we're gonna go like steal the ATM and take over. Like I wasn't into that kind of plot line as much. I really like it now.
It
But my
reminds me
first time
more of like
reading,
Assassin's Creed type of shit.
yeah, it wasn't really my thing. I'll be honest. I think Mistborn was the second Brandon Sanderson stuff I read. I read Stormlight, then Mistborn. I think it was Warbreaker, then Elantris. I don't remember if I read which order I read Warbreaker and Elantris in. But I remember that Stormlight was my very first one, and I love Stormlight, and I kind of compared everything to Stormlight afterwards.
Like I do with
Warbreaker, yeah.
Yeah, Warbreaker.
So Stormlight was like my top tier, and I was like, this isn't as much like Stormlight. I don't know if it's gonna live up to it, kind of thing.
And it never did, so.
I still prefer Stormlight, yes, but a lot of people prefer Mistborn.
Never did.
A lot of people prefer Mistborn.
Really?
Yeah, I think especially for like a first time reader, everyone's like, oh, you need to make them read Mistborn first. Mistborn's like some of the best starting books. Like read Mistborn.
We started where?
As I've said before, I wanted to start with Warbreaker because it was free.
We started where?
With Warbreaker. And you love Warbreaker, so stop complaining.
I did. Warbreaker was great.
And as I said, Warbreaker is kind of controversial. Not a lot of people like Warbreaker, so.
Warbreaker's the best book so far, so.
Yeah, so my first thoughts were I was like not super into it. I got pretty into it after I kind of got used to the characters more in this.
Which chapter?
I don't remember what chapter. I've literally read this
What? How can you not remember?
Ago.
We're supposed to remember like what we read last night, but you can't remember
what I read like 3 years ago. No. I never was very big on Kelsier. I've always felt like I never trusted. I think kind of like Darkness. I think you guys are both kind of saying like, oh, was it just Darkness or both you? Kind of saying like, oh, no, Kelsier's gonna be a bad guy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the bad guy, but I definitely don't think he's gonna be a good guy.
I never thought he was gonna be evil, but I always was kind of like, oh, he's kind of like egotistical. Like he's kind of cool, but also like he's not my favorite character. I love Elend.
Okay, so not to bring it back to Warbreaker, but was it the same feeling you had for I can't remember his name, not Vasher, the other guy, the guy. Dent. Yeah, was it the same feel? Did you have the same feeling when you read Warbreaker for Dent as you have for?
I don't think so. I think it was different. Dent, I like really loved, and then was like very betrayed. Kelsier, I'm not gonna say if anything happened. I'm not gonna say if he ever goes bad or not. But like,
damn, I almost got it, Darkness. I almost got it.
I'm not gonna. But I regarding like comparing him to other characters, like I was very always like kind of iffy on him just because he does seem very egotistical, and even though he's like doing good, I've always been like, yeah, but he's still kind of like selfishly almost doing good.
Okay, but like calcium is always good for you.
I'm lactose intolerant, so a lot of calcium stuff is milk and dairy. It is not good for me.
How lactose intolerant though?
Just mildly.
So then you're good. Overview questions.
Yeah, overview questions. So what do you think is going to happen with the crew's plans now that they are on a tighter deadline?
Crash and burn.
I wonder how they're gonna take them out, like all at once or like one by one. I think some of them are definitely dead, like at least.
Well, we know how Techiel's gone.
Yeah.
Who's Techiel?
And then my second overview question was, what do you think is going to happen with Vin and Elend's relationship based on that final conversation between Jastes and Elend?
They don't have a relationship.
And they never will after what she's about to do.
Yeah, they don't have a relationship in general.
I mean, technically anything is a relationship. Being acquaintances with someone is technically a form of a relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic.
They don't have a relationship at all.
Okay.
They're strangers.
Yeah, neither one of them know each other at all.
That's true.
I'm just spitting facts, aren't
I? Yeah.
So if you have any thoughts on that, then there's just my final question was just the same as always, which is just any new thoughts or theories on the book or what's going to happen by the end.
Everybody dies.
I think Gold is my least favorite, by the way.
Yeah, I agree. Gold is my least favorite.
No. I kind of agree with you.
Yeah,
definitely doesn't have that much potential, but
it's gonna come in handy at some point, right?
Well, I feel like the way they set it up, it's probably gonna come in handy. Like, oh, I'll never use gold again, kind of idea. Like, kind of implies that you're probably gonna use it again.
But I was thinking more about the gold ring she still has.
No.
You mean no? Ellen's the one with the gold
thinking,
ring.
Yeah,
And
I was
has an
thinking
earring.
about the obsidian. Yeah, the
I
obsidian.
meant earring.
We don't know what metal her earring's made out of. I don't believe.
I'm pretty sure it was gold.
They have not said.
Are you sure?
I am sure they have not said what metal the earring was made out of.
You're positive.
I swear I thought it was gold in the beginning. Gold and obsidian. Some of them.
Obsidian. There was a chunk of obsidian that was her brother's. That is not part of the earring.
Yeah, I know. But I'm pretty sure they said
all
obsidian,
it says is so. I'm literally searching for earring in my notes. It mentions that it's a small stud. She should stop wearing her earring. The earring is fine, even though it could be a weapon potentially. Finn touched the earring that she still wears, that her mother had pierced her with. No, it literally doesn't say what metal her earring is. I definitely would have put it if they had
Or
said.
you just didn't put it in your notes.
I 100%. I know what metal her earring is made out of, and I would have put it if I had.
Oh, it's gold. Duh. It's gonna be the 11th metal.
I was gonna say that. That was my brain. I was like, okay, the 11th metal.
It's gonna be the 11th metal.
I wonder what the 11th metal would do for a chemist.
Hopefully we find that out too.
I was also thinking, like, would you not just make something small of the 11th metal for, like, Says to try, because he's a ferochemist, and then you can prove if it's a metal that's usable? Or do they have, like, don't need, like, specific purities? Like elementals do.
Just starts melting.
Melting, Kelsier, it's all your fault.
Alright, so.
How dare you do this to me?
Next episode is going to be the second to last episode of this book.
Yeah, we're almost done. Woo.
Almost done.
And then
we're doing chapters. I didn't write it up ahead of time this time. We're doing chapters 29 through 33. So 5 chapters. It's going to be longer, more amount of pages than previously, because otherwise there was going to be like one really short episode. So the last 2 episodes are going to be a lot more pages. But also because it's getting to the end of the book, there's going to be a lot less theories coming up. So I figured it'd be okay.
A lot less theories?
Well, because like once you get to the end of the book, like there's besides like theorizing for the next book, there's not much like to theorize on for the end of the book when you're like basically at the end of the book.
So what she's saying is that the other books don't have too much to worry about.
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying for this book. Anyways, so those are the chapters we're doing, 29 through 33. For next episode, that'll be episode 9. And yeah. I'm also pretty sure you guys are going to hate me because I think I looked at it and I realized that chapter 33 ends on a horrible cliffhanger, so
I mean, we can't hate you more than we already do.
Although it is the second to last episode, so you could read it like as you usually do day of and then finish the book the next day.
Anyways, so
so maybe you won't hate me so much.
Oh no, we hate you a lot, so.
Wow. Alright, well, thank you guys all so much for listening, and we'll hopefully have you come by next time. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.